Hello and welcome back to, I believe this is episode 4 of our Speedrunners
Yeah, this is episode 4.
Podcast. Yes, and this one we're talking about cryptids because spooky season is upon us. So we are going to be doing this slideshow that we all contributed to, and we're each going to talk about our own cryptid. So let's just get started. The first one, Boo, take it.
Hello. This is my slide. I don't know the most about cryptids, so I chose the Fresno Nightcrawler because I saw this image in the top, which just made me kind of fall in love with Fresno Nightcrawlers. Apparently, they're this thin, armless, pale humanoid thing that was first seen in Fresno, California. There have also been sightings in Ohio, which is closer, and then Poland, which is very far away. And most of the sightings were from 2010 to 2020. It's usually on like foggy-ish nights where you can't really see a lot of things. But people report seeing like from their cars, just like white, pale creatures with no arms running through the forests. And on the bottom right, in that giant picture, is a picture of some really derpy Fresno Nightcrawlers, which, in my opinion, look like they're straight out of Lethal Company. Which...
We're gonna do a little bit of live editing, guys. Live
Oh,
editing.
okay.
No, you're good. You're good. Keep talking.
Shameless plug for all of you out there who are watching this. Since spooky season is upon us, like Kimmy said, we will be playing some Lethal Company since there's a new update.
Let's go!
So keep an eye out for that stream. And yeah, that's all I have for Fresno Nightcrawlers. There was not a ton of information about them.
The Fresno Nightcrawler looks like somebody just slipped a pillowcase over their head for sensory reasons and then decided to take a run through the forest.
They look derpy and I love them.
I said they look like teeth.
Teeth? Yeah.
Oh but they remind me when people put like trash bags like over their body and they just have their legs sticking out. Like the trash is
Yeah, that too.
Yeah.
You know what? The next time I go to a convention, maybe I'll do a Fresno Nightcrawler.
Please do.
I know people will take pictures.
They look like this.
They're among us.
Thank you, Boo, for sharing about the Fresno Nightcrawlers.
This is what I think they look like. I'm coming.
I'm also waiting.
Then I had to Google this. This is what I think they look like. They look like kids in sensory suits.
Oh my gosh! He looks like a pack of Velveeta cheese.
They're different colors, but that's what they look like to me.
Why is it so pointy at the edges? Are those
because it's square?
Are those their limbs?
Yes.
Yeah. It's a stretchy sensory suit.
All right. Next up. Oh man, take it away, May.
That's me. Hi, I'm May, and I'm from West Virginia. And by law, every West Virginian's favorite cryptid has to be Mothman. So let's get to know him a little bit. The Mothman, well, he's between 5'9" and 6'8". No one really knows for certain, except for a dog. We'll get to that later. Unknown weight. No, I'm sure he's never gone to the doctor or anything. We assume that his diet is carnivorous. He could be an omnivore, but no one knows for certain. His sapience level is indeed sapient, and I just need to do a quick tangent here to explain what the sapience level is. The sapience level is a classification that's used to measure the level of social obedience a creature has. And sapient being, this creature has the ability of making questions and even wondering things about their own existence. And so pretty much acts like a human. They're not a human. The Mothman is described, shaped like a man, but bigger, obviously. Maybe 6.5 or 7 feet tall, with big wings folded against its back. And of course, he is a beloved West Virginia cryptid.
Love that.
Next slide. All right, so the first sighting of Mothman happened on November 15th in 1966 in Point Pleasant, West Virginia, by two young couples going to have a little makeout sesh by a World War II TNT factory. But they got spooked because they spotted him near the gate, and so they drove away really fucking fast. But then as they were on the exit ramp of Route 62, they saw him again. He was chasing them.
Oh my gosh.
God damn. Anyway, 90 miles away in Salem, West Virginia at 10:30 p.m., a man was watching TV when, like, the TV shut off, and he heard a loud whining sound coming from outside. He said it sounded like a generator whirring up. And he went to investigate it, shone a light near his barn, and he just saw two big red eyes looking back at him that looked like bicycle reflectors. His dog, named Bandit, went to attack, but he called his dog back. He's like, "No, Bandit, don't attack." Bandit did not listen, and he was never seen again.
No, Bandit.
Right. November
peace,
16th, 1966. Literally the day after the first Mothman sighting, the townspeople went on the offense. They
my
said, "All right, we're
gosh.
not taking this lying down." So they like literally armed themselves and went to the TNT factory to attack the Mothman. And near that TNT factory, a mother was with her kid, and she said she saw something like lying on the ground, like it had been lying down, slowly rising up from the ground. She said it was large and gray with glowing red eyes. That's the thing all these sightings have in common, is the glowing red eyes. She actually dropped her daughter because she was so frightened, but then quickly regained her wits, picked up her daughter, ran inside the house where she called the police. But she was telling them that it had walked onto her porch and began peering in through the windows. Like, that's terrifying. Imagine like a 6'8" man in all black clothing with red eyes looking in your window at fucking night. Like,
I would be
Abs-
calling the
None of that.
police.
She was on the phone with the
Absolutely.
police.
Yep. All right,
Mhm.
next slide. So sightings continue throughout the rest of November. November 24th, 4 people saw the Mothman flying through the air over the TNT area. That seems to be where he liked to hang out a lot. Morning of November 25th, the Route 62 north of the TNT factory, he was just standing in a field by the road, then spread his wings and took off.
Gosh.
Raiden didn't like that.
He's getting spooked.
And then once again the following day, another West Virginian saw the Mothman actually in the capital of Charleston, West Virginia. And then again, November 27th, it was pursued by a young woman near Mason, West Virginia. So he's going all over the place. He is now traveling, not just staying in Point Pleasant, which is wild. And then 1 year later, he was seen by the Silver Bridge in West Virginia, of course. And then it collapsed. So 46 people died during rush hour traffic. This was during rush hour traffic. Tragic. RIP all those who lost their lives. But some researchers say that the appearance of Mothman before this disaster is like an indication, like he was trying to warn us a year prior that the bridge was going to collapse, and then like right before it collapsed, he appeared again to warn us. And that's how he gets his reputation as like a harbinger of disaster. But after the bridge collapse, like fewer sightings of the Mothman were reported. He's been seen like at other like in other places, like I think Chicago and like Russia, but like a lot of people don't consider those like true Mothman sightings. A lot of people, including myself, believe that Mothman really only resides within the West Virginia borders, Appalachian Mountains.
All right.
And that's Mothman for you.
Thank you. I feel like were any people I don't remember, were any people injured by him, or was he just there?
Nope, no one was injured. He was just there.
He just likes seeing what's going on.
Yep,
Get in.
just a
I'm
guy.
surprised that they got such accurate height like scales earlier. You're like, he's between 5'8" to 6'8", and I was like, that's very specific frames of height.
Well, that's about the like average height of like a porch. So if you saw a person sitting on your porch, you'd be able to be like, yeah, they were in between this size and this size, based on like how your porch was built.
Fair enough. I just feel like it's easier to be like 5.5 to 6.5 feet.
All right. Next is mine. I did the Hat Man. So the Hat Man is only seen during sleep paralysis, which there were a couple of stories of people seeing not during sleep paralysis, but for the most part, if you're having sleep paralysis, you might see him. Some say everyone's like on a different scale. He's demonic, he's evil, he's gonna harm you. And others are like, he just wants to see. He just wants to watch, he just wants to observe. A common trait for people who have seen them are having troubled childhood or childhood trauma. So I don't know how they linked that, but that's how they linked it. But then I feel like a lot of people have childhood trauma, so
maybe the nicer experiences are those actively going through something.
But I had an encounter with him many years ago. So a little background about me. During most of my teen years, I had sleep paralysis maybe once, twice a week. Not fun. It sucks. But if you don't know what sleep paralysis is, basically your body's still sleeping, but your mind is awake. So you can't move at all. Sometimes you can move your eyes around. Others, it's like this weird like state you're in where you actually don't have your eyes open, but you are aware of the whole room around you. Like you see yourself in third person, basically. Very out of body experience. But yeah. So when I saw him, I was in my bed, and then my room was pretty small, but he was in the corner of my room next to my door, and he was as tall as the door. So what is the average door height for America? Like
6, 7 feet?
Yeah, somewhere around there. 6 feet, probably. I didn't want to look, so I like tried to avert my eyes so I didn't see, like, all I saw was black silhouette, just like these images portray. But technically, it was almost exactly like the top image here. It was like he was tall, shadowy. I saw no features other than he had that hat, and that's like the exact style of that hat. And then I got this feeling of like, I don't want him near me at all. Like, please stay over there. And I just like averted my eyes. I don't even know if I could like actually see him or I just felt him. But it didn't last too long. I was able to go back to sleep, but I just did not want to like engage at all. And then this was before I knew anything about the Hat Man. And I found out later, like a few years later on TikTok, they were talking about like, have you ever seen the Hat Man? And they described it, and I was like, wait, that's exactly what I saw. And then thinking about it, that was the last time I had sleep paralysis, and I think I was around 22 I want to say. So it's been what, like 6 years? Yeah.
Maybe he cured your sleep paralysis.
Maybe.
Yeah,
So-
the Hat Man.
So the crazy thing here is not that you've seen the Hat Man, but it's the fact that I have also.
Oh, let's hear it.
I have
And it
also
was-
seen the Hat Man.
Let's
it was
go.
also the last time that I experienced
God.
sleep paralysis.
Oh my
The
gosh.
cure of sleep paralysis. Praise be, Hat Man.
But
just
I
want
was
to be
much
known that, like,
younger.
Not only
Yeah, I
is
was-
sleep paralysis already like really, really annoying, like it's just horrifying in and of itself.
Mhm.
But now you add on a cryptid that's coming to visit you in the middle of your sleep paralysis. Like,
Okay, but if he's taking it away, then like, Go for it, I
Yeah.
guess.
I don't
was, like,
remember.
9.
I don't remember having sleep paralysis after I saw the Hat Man, so
Maybe just like
he was
you don't
standing
need
outside
it.
my window though, so I
But,
could
yeah.
see
Holy
his
shit.
figure.
New lore drop.
He woke me from it.
He woke you from it? How so?
He woke me from it. So I was having like terrible sleep paralysis where I would wake up, like I would be fully conscious, right? As you are. But I could feel my entire body not being able to move, but it would be like that tingliness you feel when like one of your body parts falls asleep.
Mhm.
Like I could be aware of it. He stood at the foot of my bed, and started projecting like images of things chasing me, which maybe not the nicest way to force somebody's awake.
Real.
But I flung myself out of my bed, through what I can only assume was pure willpower,
Mhm.
and I stepped on something, and it woke me up the rest of the way.
Mhm.
But yeah, it was the last time I had sleep paralysis, so
So new lore.
yay!
He might cure sleep paralysis.
He might
But they also, from what I've heard, you don't want to see him more than twice. If you see him a third time, things are supposed to be really bad.
I only saw him once.
Yeah, I also only saw him the one time.
I have also only seen him the one time.
Good job, guys. Keep it up.
You think that
See him
he's?
again.
You think that things only turn bad because he's like trying more and more like things to try and shake your sleep paralysis? Like he's like
Probably.
losing the fight against your sleep paralysis.
He's just fighting the sleep paralysis demons.
Mhm.
After the third time, he loses.
Oh no.
Third time he just
Every
gives
time
up
he
and says,
loses, and then the
"Fuck
sleep
it."
paralysis demons fucking eat you.
Yeah,
Oh,
basically.
no.
That's why. Yeah.
Why would you hope that?
No, you're not hoping that. I'm just saying if
Oh.
he's fighting them and he doesn't get them the first 3 times, then they win. That's the deal, I guess.
Maybe that's why he just stands in the doorway for most people.
Mhm.
He's just
Alright.
like intimidating them.
Or like behind
Maybe
him.
the fight's already over. Imagine if he T-posed instead of just standing there.
It would be like funny.
He's asserting dominance on your sleep paralysis
Yeah.
demons.
He just starts flexing.
Oh. So shout out the Hat Man. Alright.
All right. On a lighter note, the Ambi is from Japanese tellings. It is a legendary Japanese mermaid or merman. It has a bird-like beak and mouth and 3 legs or tail fins because it's fish-like. And it allegedly emerges from the sea, prophesizes either an abundant harvest or an epidemic, and instructs people to make copies of its likeness to defend against illness, which is something that we'll come back to. It was first spotted in the Higo province, I probably butchered that, in the Indo period. A glowing object had been seen out in the sea almost on like a nightly basis, and the town's officials went out to the coast to investigate and witnessed the Ambi standing out there. According to the sketch, which is the sketch that's on the screen, it is a long-haired mouth like a bird's bill and was covered in scales from the neck down, had 3 legs. It addressed the official, it identified itself as an Ambi and told him that it lived in the open sea. It went on to deliver the prophecy, a good harvest will continue for 6 years from the current year, and if disease spreads, draw a picture of me and show the picture of me to those who fall ill. Afterwards, it returned to the sea, and the story was printed in the woodblock printed bulletins, where its portrait was put, and that's how they decided to send the story in Japan. Go to the next slide. A lot of people like to talk about it, and it like came back up during COVID, which is how I discovered it. During COVID, they decided to draw posters that just said "Stop COVID," and they slapped the picture of the Ambi on it. And people also really love to draw fan art, as you can see. And the Ambi has made it onto Yu-Gi-Oh cards. But it is like a really big part of Japanese culture where they're like, hey, remember this? But it's only ever had the one sighting. People say that it was probably likely a misspelling of the Ambiko, which is a bear-like image of it. which is the bear-like image on here. But I don't think that it was. I think that there's a drastic difference between seeing you saw a beak and seeing a bear-like thing that's covered in fur versus scales. But with the only person that's ever like actually seen it like face to face, in a sense, being like an official officer, and the time that it was being in a report was from like somebody that's trusted in their community, I think that there's a chance that we could see it again sometime in the future. But it's only ever been spotted once.
What if it died?
It could have, maybe, but probably not. Maybe they just haven't needed another reminder that they're going to have good harvest. Because
I mean,
after that, they took care of making sure they would.
I can kind of see the beak on the bear one if they assume the nose was the beak, and then they assume the entire rest of the body is just like all of its hair. Kind of.
From the reportings, they saw it like on a rock where they came face to face and talked to it. So
Oh,
like they
okay.
saw the full image of it. They have like a full body sketch. So I don't. It's just something that because they've only seen it once, where they've seen the other thing multiple times,
Yeah. that's
and
fair.
both technically are habitat claimed as the ocean. They both retreat into the ocean. So they could be from like the same line. They both have 3 legs. It could be the same thing that just chooses to appear differently every time it comes out. But there's a lot of stuff on yokai.com that talks about both of them. They do have their own separate pages. So currently as it stands, they are separate things.
I see. Also, shout out to the kids who drew them, and they look kind of like Furbies on the bottom
Yeah.
left. Like I kept
Yeah.
looking at them, and I'm like, those are just Furbies with extra steps.
Yeah, I had to include the kit drawings because they continue to talk about it, and they give it power through word, because that's how cryptids gain power in some cultures, is you talk about them and they continue to exist.
Thank you, Becca. Next, Eve.
Okay. I kind of have a lot to say, guys. So
Say it.
sit tight.
Speak your truth.
I want to start with talking about Loch Ness itself, right? Just to frame what we're talking about. Loch Ness is 37 kilometers or 23 miles long. Its deepest point is 230 meters or 755 feet. It's the second deepest loch in Scotland. It's the second largest Scottish loch by surface area, but because it's so deep and long, it's the largest body of water by volume in the British Isles. It's huge. Absolutely massive. The Loch Ness Monster, as we know of her, is from verbal reports, the oldest of which is about 1500 years old, when the Irish missionary Saint Columba said he encountered a beast in the River Ness, which feeds Loch Ness, in 565 AD. So it's a long-standing myth. One of the most well-known reports from the 1930s describes a whale-like creature and the loch's water cascading and churning. And there are still, on average, about 10 sightings of unexplained creatures on Loch Ness a year. This increases over time. There wasn't this many before the myth became well known across the world and people started going to Loch Ness to specifically visit for it. Nessie, when sighted, is not usually sighted in entirety. Sometimes there's a head and a neck, or just a head. Sometimes there's movement of water, or a shape or a shadow beneath the surface. Or people just report hearing the sounds of a huge unseen creature splashing in the water at a distance. Pictured here, we have, if the black and white photo on the left is a very, very famous depiction of Nessie. That is the surgeon's photograph from 1934, which has been proven to be a hoax. It's actually a picture. It's a children's submarine toy with a molded clay and wood head stuck on top. And perspective is used to make it look bigger than it is, even though I think it looks quite small. But Nessie is also depicted as sort of giant newt. A plesiosaur kind of depiction is really common. A sea serpent, all kinds of sort of marine reptile kind of depictions. The one on the top left is actually a statue or a figure of Nessie that's at the Museum of the Loch Ness Monster. And then I don't know if you can see it, but in the bottom corner I did include another picture of a famous Nessie.
Yeah.
Next slide, please, if you would. Okay, so what is the Loch Ness Monster? a giant newt or a giant salamander is something people have suggested, but giant salamanders are only typically found in Asia and some eastern parts of the United States. The largest recorded giant salamanders are 2 meters or 6 feet long, but they're not found in the UK at all. Newts, there's 3 species of newts in the UK. There's the smooth newt, which can be 10 centimeters long, which I don't think might be about 6 inches. The great crested newt, which is the largest UK newt, can be 17 centimeters in length, which actually, do you know what? I'll get my ruler out and I can tell you how long that is. That's about 6 inches long. So it's not very long. They're quite small. And then the palmate newt only gets 9 centimeters in length. So they're the right shape to be the Loch Ness Monster. But and there are a lot of newts in Loch Ness, but they don't get big enough to account for the sightings. A giant eel seems to be the most widely accepted scientific explanation of the modern day. There are many, many, many eels in Loch Ness. It's well known. Kids catch them. There's loads of eels in Loch Ness. An eel, for anyone who doesn't know, is an elongated fish ranging in length from 5 centimeters to 13 feet or 4 meters. Which is huge. 13 feet is very, very big, but they are very skinny. That's the slender giant moray, and they're known for being very thin. The heaviest true eel is the European conger, who can be 110 kilograms or 240 pounds. They get to be about 10 feet long. Juvenile eels that are known as elvers get to Scotland. They migrate from the Sargasso Sea, which is where eels spawn and lay eggs. And these eels that end up in Scotland are almost all European eels, which is the species Anguilla anguilla. They only get to 1 meter in length. They weigh no more than about 1.5 kilograms. And they can live for 15 to 70 years, which is impressive. But they just don't get that big. They don't get big enough to be Nessie. And here I want to introduce you to a very extensive study that was done. Some New Zealand researchers basically gathered up big samples of the water from many different parts of the loch and tested for environmental DNA, like shed DNA from animals living in the loch. It's a great way to tell what the local wildlife is. And Professor Neil Gemmell from New Zealand's University of Otago said, there is a very significant amount of eel DNA. Eels are very plentiful in Loch Ness, with eel DNA found at pretty much every location sampled. There are a lot of them, so are they giant eels? Well, our data doesn't reveal their size, but the sheer quantity of the material says we can't discount the possibility there may be giant eels in Loch Ness. Therefore, we can't discount the possibility that what people see and believe is the Loch Ness Monster might be a giant eel. So, yeah, like I say, it's the most broadly accepted explanation for the Loch Ness Monster these days, because the DNA evidence is present, but we just don't think that eels that big are typically found in that part of the world. So I'm still a skeptic. Next slide, please. This is my favorite theory because I just think it's a bit wild.
I'm Team Plesiosaur.
Same.
I like plesiosaur.
Well,
It's my favorite.
Maybe I'll change your mind. Who knows?
Oh.
I love this theory because it's crazy and it's wrong, but I think it's a lot of fun.
Well, I don't care about wrong.
So, a plesiosaur is a Mesozoic marine reptile. A plesiosaur isn't one animal; it's a category of animals. Like big cats is like tigers, lions, cheetahs, or badgers. You know, you get European badgers, you get American badgers, or many types of badger. The plesiosaurs share similarities in their genetic ancestor, but they all have different traits, even though they're mostly very similar to each other. Marine reptiles of today include sea turtles, sea snakes, saltwater crocodiles, and marine iguanas. And kind of notably, if you look at those animals, you can also see they don't really reach a size that we would associate with a lake monster, right? With a plesiosaur. And that's because if they get too big, they crush themselves under their own weight when they go on land, if they're semi-aquatic. Which most marine reptiles are. They don't just live in the ocean. One way of solving this is if Nessie had a shell, like a turtle, because that sort of provides a certain amount of structure, like an exoskeleton almost, like bugs have. but she's never been shown to have a shell. Like, none of the sightings ever include that detail, so I wouldn't count it. The modern depictions of the plesiosaur, right? So if you look on the left of the picture, you can see that the more old-fashioned depictions of the plesiosaur have this long, bendy neck. And then as time passes on, as we learn more about the paleontology of plesiosaurs, they become more sort of dolphin-shaped, if you like, whale-shaped, or turtle-shaped. I've included a picture so you can see. You can look at the dolphin and the turtle. And look, they've got sort of short, thick necks. And the neck isn't short because the spine is short. The neck is short because they're very thick animals, because they have to retain a lot of heat to be able to live in the water, in the cold water. So basically, the idea that Nessie is a plesiosaur is based on an outdated image of what a plesiosaur might look like. Plesiosaurs would have a different body shape to the common depictions of Nessie. They had large bodies to preserve heat. Like most water animals, if you think about a whale's blubber, right? They need that to preserve heat. They have to be very thick. And plesiosaurs' necks also likely would not have moved sort of forwards and backwards. They would have moved side to side. If you think about, I mean, we can do it with our heads. It's way easier to move your head. You can have a further range of movement tilting your head side to side than forwards and backwards most of the case. But this is especially true for water mammals. If you think about a dolphin, the way a dolphin moves, it can twist further side to side than up and down, apart from in the tail, which beats up and down to make it move. But if you look at this image called the surgeon's photograph, which I've put again on this slide, the black and white one, you can see that that neck is almost at a right angle. It is almost a biological certainty that a plesiosaur would not be able to hold its neck at that angle. And we know that photo's a hoax. We know that photo's a hoax. He admitted it. But a lot of the depictions going on from that also have that kind of neck posture. And if you look at the skeleton at the top of the slide, you can sort of see the shape of a plesiosaur, right? You can't really imagine that head being able to make that shape. How likely is it that a plesiosaur could today live in Loch Ness anyway? It's very unlikely. There is no evidence of a prehistoric marine reptile at all, or even a large fish such as a sturgeon, found from the DNA survey they did. Professor Neil Gemmell again says, "We can't find any evidence of a creature that's remotely related to that in our environmental DNA sequence data. So sorry, I don't think the plesiosaur idea holds up based on the data we have obtained." He added, "There's no shark DNA in Loch Ness based on our sampling. There's also no catfish DNA in Loch Ness based on our sampling. We can't find any evidence of sturgeon either. But DNA from humans, dogs, sheep, cattle, deer, badgers, rabbits, voles, and birds were also identified." So there's a lot of things that they did find. Like, they found things that don't even live in the lake, right? They found things that live around the lake. So you can kind of count on that they would have found some weird DNA in there if it existed. So it's my opinion that Nessie is not a plesiosaur. Also, there's been no record of plesiosaurs even existing in the world for 66 million years. And I know that the coelacanth fish, people might bring this up, the coelacanth fish was known to be extinct, and then they found coelacanths living. So we can't necessarily... Our observation isn't that good all the time, but I mean, 66 million years is a long time. They're not even in the fossil record. This is kind of becoming my own personal liturgy on why I don't think the Loch Ness Monster is real. And I'm only going to solidify that by reading my next part, which is my personal opinion, that Nessie is almost definitely not a large creature. I like the idea that the movement of the water and like geological activity or weird currents cause roiling water that looks like the wake of a large animal, because it's known that Loch Ness, because of its long shape, has weird ripples affecting its surface. There are lots of known hoaxes, and a lot of the famous sightings have served to... People have stood to gain from people believing it, basically. Like, there's one very famous report by a bed and breakfast owner whose bed and breakfast is right by Loch Ness. And then the surgeon's photograph is a really, really well-known hoax. But also, the loch is currently, and has been for many years, extensively sonar scanned every day by committed Nessie seekers, and they've never found any evidence on the sonar of any large animal at all. And the DNA evidence doesn't show any creature known to get that large. And also, like, if we just think about it, if this is real, it's been alive for 1,500 years. And if it's not one creature, if it's many creatures, there's got to be a group of them. And how have we not found observable, documentable evidence of any of them? I don't know. I love myths and legends. I think it's a great way of getting your kids to not play in the water if they think there's a monster in there. And I think Scotland deserves the tourism because it's beautiful. But that's my take. That's my take on Nessie. I don't think she's real, but I still love her.
This is so unfortunate for plesiosaur lovers everywhere,
Real.
including myself.
You can
What
you can
if-
still
Yeah,
love
I'm
a
still- I'm
plesiosaur.
I'm still
What if
team
she burrows
plesiosaur.
herself?
What if she burrows herself?
Into the mud.
To avoid the sonar
A
scan.
giant eel might do that. A giant eel might do that.
You know what?
Maybe she's
I am
avoiding your
now-
sonar scans, Eve.
And yeah,
But if you think about it, any animal would also have to surface very regularly to breathe. Like any like plesiosaur-like animal, and there'd be more sightings. There'd be more photos. There would
It
be
evolved to have
unless due to
skills.
evolution, it's like a chain reaction where it evolved to not be able to do that, and it's actually just been, birthing process. But maybe there's two.
I am now a believer.
And
maybe they've
it's
evolved.
a giant eel.
It's actually multiple giant eels.
Yeah, it's
together
like,
as
it
a
would be a group.
that
It'd be like a
look
family.
like a plesiosaur at
Mhm.
first
Yes.
glance, if you're not looking at
It's-
the separate eels. And that's my headcanon, and I'm
Yeah.
gonna stick with it.
Well, I like that
It's-
because the long thin neck could be an eel. You know.
Yep. Look at that,
It's-
guys. We're detectives. We gotta go out to Loch Ness. Check it out.
Group trip.
Yes.
Time to scuba dive.
I'm ready.
Mhm.
That was so informative, Eve. Thank you. I learned a lot.
Yeah.
You are so welcome. I feel like I talked so much, but I think that the pictures. Oh my god, I didn't even mention the marine iguanas beyond their name. But look at that picture, guys. Look at that mummy and baby. Oh, they're so
Interesting.
cute.
They are cute.
She looks eternally disgruntled.
I love
Like
them.
pursed lips. Dissatisfied.
That dolphin looks like it's gonna do to me what dolphins do.
Oh no.
Oh my god.
no.
Why would you say that?
Oh.
Not like
Look at the way
this.
it's looking at us.
Yourself.
All right,
He's
we're
just
gonna
chilling.
we're gonna move
Might even
on.
be a woman
move
dolphin.
on.
We don't know.
Moving us on. It got weird. All right, Jackson.
We'll get weird, but the other way. With the jackalopes, little creatures that they exist. I know they do. I grew up and I've seen one. But yeah, they're the myth of the Great Depression. They're an infected animal, so the mutation that took place, evolutions that took place, known as the Frankenstein of the cryptid world. And yep, my forever fever dream. But it to the Americas, it's kind of a basic myth creature, not so ill intent, not so evil, just trying to survive. But if you have a Texas Roadhouse, I'm sure you have a local resident. You'll always see one in one Texas Roadhouse. Maybe you have your own. They will not be your friends. Don't go near them.
Oh.
Why
little
not
different.
friend?
I know.
Friend shape.
Yes. I don't know, those antlers, they could be a little aggressive.
Imagine a baby jackalope.
Oh, absolutely.
Little nubs.
Yep. Next slide. The many variants of a jackalope. Art is by the Lindsay Green. I would say go by her art. I do have some myself. But the many different types due to evolution. You know, the Arctic jackalope, it has to survive in the winter. Big fluffy feet, the cold. The domestic jackalope, that would be the one that I would probably want. It looks like a little ram. It's so cute. Little curled ears. But yeah, they have variant evolutions. You know, real life Pokemon's here. Here we go. Just for Boo. We'll have to do
They're
a bunny
everywhere.
jackalope version for you.
Thank
But the
you.
domestic one is kind of close.
It is kind of close, yes. Other games you'll probably see them, like in WoW, the Wolpertinger is a German version. That one has the wings.
They fly?
Yes, they do
Wow.
fly. I feel like they play more like a chicken though. You know, they can't fly, but like
Oh,
get
they fly.
distance. Yeah. Cause imagine with that jump and then just with some wings, it's a great distance.
Yeah,
Kind of
it's
like
an
sugar
antler.
glider.
Yeah.
Plow
yeah.
in your face.
Oh yeah.
Society.
Yeah, with that antler. Oh yeah, aggressive. Dang.
See, this is the
Um,
problem with rabbits.
Yeah.
No one believed me until today. It's just finally on my side. We have comrades.
These are known to understand the human language, and they will mimic. They do it for avoidance. Not really to lure you in, though it probably might work for some people. I guess to lure, but they don't do it for the ill intent. They actually don't want you to come near them.
They yell at me.
You know?
Like I get too close and they start screaming at me.
Actually, yell, get off my lawn.
That's what
I
I'm
imagine
thinking.
it's like that Animals Voiced documentary where it's just the meerkat yelling, "Hi!"
Yeah, but it's stop. I mean,
You've just awakened something in me.
oh, you see their their yawns, that teeth, those jaws,
Yeah.
man. It's wild to see a bunny yawn. And yep, just like unlike a bunny, rabbits are a little more aggressive.
I mean, have you ever seen a hare box with another hare? They're very, very aggressive.
Absolutely.
Like, you can imagine them doing some damage, especially with the antlers.
Mhm.
Yeah. Oh yeah, there's your tonking, screaming mouse there. I see that video. And that's the jackalopes.
Tell us about your encounter.
My encounter. Because we have desert here, so as they kind of roam for, I think it's like the Midwest, North Midwest, riding my dirt bike. You always see the jackrabbits out there
Mhm.
running around, but I swear one passed me with antlers. He did. I will never go on my own again after that.
Did he attack you?
He stared me down.
They're
Oh,
dangerous.
he was pretending. He was threatening.
Yeah, he
That's
was
the
just
important
threatening.
part.
Yeah.
That's funny.
Out of
I
all
want the
these,
speedrun one.
out of all of these, what did it look like?
More greater jackalopes.
Mhm.
Yeah.
A big
I
one.
think, what is it? The savannah with the antelope antlers. More like the Africans. Ryukyu, jackalope, more Asian.
Mhm.
Um,
I'm guessing the elk-like one's probably more Canadian.
yeah, more north. This one actually doesn't have, because I have some postcards of the rest of them. This picture doesn't have the, where is it? Hold on, it's in my European jackalope, which just looks like a deer. And, you know, if I could just have one as a mount and a big pet.
A mount and a pet? Like, you're gonna show your mount to your pet every day, like, hey pet, look.
No.
Or like a
the
horse
mount would
or
be,
Look at my
yeah,
mount.
be like a horse. They are your pet and your mount.
Except for
Oh,
this
you
pet would
mean
be able
sorry,
to
I
talk
thought
to
you
you.
meant like a mounted head, and I was like,
Oh my
dude,
gosh.
Oh,
I thought you
No.
meant mount as in like a mounted trophy.
Oh,
this will be you if you don't act right, is what you're basically saying.
just aggressive because they're a rabbit, so
So Jess just threatens her pet every day, like, if
Use
you don't
the litter
behave,
tray.
this could be you.
Or I will put you on the wall.
Alright, thank you, Jax, for
Yeah.
telling us about the jackalope. Alright, and now, whoa.
Whoa.
there's
You're gonna have
desert.
to. Okay, so when I finish speaking, you're gonna have to click because every piece of text is animated.
Oh my gosh.
So
This is about to be that lethal synergy.
now imagine if I had the music to go with it.
There is.
I
I
see if
am
y'all are
hearing
on the
the
same
music.
page or not.
You're hearing it?
Yeah.
Oh, that's perfect. I wish I could hear it. Go ahead then. Click away.
Okay.
Okay. So my cryptid is the Olgoi Horhoi, or the Mongolian deathworm. The literal translation is the large intestine worm.
Beautiful.
And the common belief of what they look like is that they're shaped like a sausage, about 2 feet long, has no head nor leg, and it is so poisonous that merely to touch it means instant death. So this beast is said to roam the most desolate parts of the Gobi Desert, which is typically the southernmost part of the Gobi Desert. While no confirmation of his its existence has been documented. Locals viscerally recount the worm emerging from the sand and swiftly attacking its victims before burrowing underground, rapidly retreating like a sand boa. In the
Gross.
1987 book, I'm not going to pronounce that, Ivan Makler cites a Mongolian legend which described the creature as traveling underground, creating waves of sand on the surface, which allow for it to be detected. It is said it can kill at a distance, either by spraying a venom at its prey or by means of electric discharge. It primarily lives and burrows underground, only rarely coming to the surface, typically during rain. And then its popularity in the West was spearheaded by Roy Chapman Andrews. He was a 20th century American explorer and later was the director of the American Museum of Natural History. And he first referenced these worms in his 1926 book On the Trail of Ancient Man, which was just a collection of stories of him exploring Asia in the 1900s. And that popularized the worm's mysteriousness in the West. And in his book, Andrew describes secondhand tales of the monster that he heard at a gathering of Mongolian officials. He states, "None of those present ever had seen the creature, but they all firmly believed in its existence and described it minutely. And the general way of knowing about this worm in Mongolian culture is through word of mouth. Some people claim to have witnessed the worm, but most claim only through third-hand experience of somebody else telling them about it." And then another cryptologist, Josh Gates, had tried to locate the worm on his show Destination Truth, Season 2, Episode 2, if anyone wants to watch it.
I saw that.
And during his nightly hunt for the worm, along with the rest of his crew, it was probably, I think, about 6 different people, his crew encountered seismic activity underneath the ground, strange orange lights, and slinking tracks in the sand. And unfortunately, while they did encounter mysterious circumstances, they also heard loud noises that they couldn't attribute to anything in the desert, even though the place they were at was completely abandoned. His team was not able to locate the worm and show any kind of evidence for it. And then if Kimi clicks again, we have another image of the worm, what it kind of looks like when it burrows underground. The little tail tips on the end are what would produce the electricity, which it can zap things from a distance with, and then from its mouth it can spit acid that kills instantly.
I'm sorry, but the only thing that
This-
comes to mind is that I think it was a Vine that is like of the Magic School Bus, and then one of the girls is like, "Girl, that's a booty hole."
What? No. You're right, and I
He
hate
looks like
that.
a Monster Hunter monster.
Looks like a leech, like some kind of pink
Yes.
leech.
It is a Monster Hunter monster.
And now for unearthing the death worm.
Whoa.
While many cryptologist expeditions have been generally unsuccessful at sighting the worm, the Mongolian death worm has become very popular in fantasy media as of late. For example, we have the 2010 movie The Mongolian Death Worm, and these are just what the worms look like. And then again, we have the Arrakis sandworm from Dune, both the book and the movie. They're typically the fantasy versions of these are bigger than 2 to 7 feet, like bigger than humans, as tall as buildings, just giant, scary worms. And they don't typically spit acid, but they are very intimidating. We also have in the game Ark, we have the death worm, which its scientific name, Horhoi arrakis, is a reference both to the official Mongolian name of the worm and also a reference to Dune, because that's Arrakis is where the worms are located.
I'm so glad you brought Dune up because I was going to ask about it afterwards. Because I was like, this is clearly the inspiration, surely.
Yes, many believe that Dune took inspiration from these worms.
I have died to that death worm in Ark at least twice.
Does it spit acid in the game? I'm curious.
No, I think it just eats you up. I just like yoink.
Okay, that's the general consensus in fantasy, is that it doesn't spit acid or anything, but it's big enough to just eat you whole, and that's the intimidating factor.
I mean, in Dune, you do have the baby sandworms make that the water of life, which is that incredibly toxic liquid when they die. So I guess that kind of passed over a little bit into that.
Yeah,
Like
that's
the
true.
water
I
of
watched-
life, which is a toxic liquid.
Yeah.
Because
the
it's water
movie-
made
Why?
from their life.
Yeah, in the movie, I'm pretty sure you drink it to like unlock.
Ascend. Mhm.
Yeah, to like unlock the knowledge of the universe. But the price is that if you can't handle it, then you die from it. It's very toxic, and I think only select people can drink it.
The only man that's ever survived is Paul Atreides. Only women can typically do it, and they have to do a long time training. They do like training on how to convert poison, how to control their biology to converting poison into like just pure water in their body. Like, I don't know. There's a whole. They like train their whole lives for it.
That's wild.
And then we have graboids from the movie Tremors, and they're also just giant worms. That's like a more in-depth like anatomy snapshot of the graboids. And then if you can look just a little bit, we have Kezu from the Monster Hunter series, which may or may not be influenced by these worms. It has
Yay.
a long worm-like neck. It looks like a butthole.
It does.
Unfortunately, it is what it is. It does not spit acid, but it does shoot electricity.
I feel like the Alaskan bullworm also from SpongeBob.
Yeah.
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 Just assume if it's a big worm that it was probably related to the Mongolian death worm.
So yeah, like any like sandworm kind of thing in any type of media.
Are we gonna do
There's
Beetlejuice?
there's that one. There's also a modded worm in Minecraft that actually spits acid.
Oh, yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
The Lethal
Mon-
Company worm that jumps out of the ground
Yeah.
and
Oh, yeah,
earths
huh?
you.
True. Yeah, and it's in the sand.
Mm,
Hmm.
wow.
There you go.
We did it, guys.
Those were some of the cryptids out there. Let us
I feel like I
know.
learned so much.
Hmm.
That was fun.
I want
And
to
us
a lot.
know if other people believe in other cryptids in the comments. Please let us know.
Let us know if you want to see more cryptids from us, because I got so many I could do.
So true.
Wait,
there are a
do-
lot of cryptids.
I'd love to talk about church grims actually at some point.
Ooh.
I have a question.
Mhm.
Do the like Japanese folklore
Like the
like I
yokai?
don't know what the yokai,
Yokai.
do those count as cryptids?
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh my god, I missed my favorite cryptid. I do have a favorite
Yeah.
cryptid.
Yeah, yokai are what the Japanese call cryptids, but yeah, cryptids are just legendary creatures
Mhm.
that you can't
Hopefully
prove
we
the
have
existence
a-
of technically.
Hopefully it'll last until next year so we can do another cryptids episode.
Or we could just do cryptids part 2 this year. We just
So
started
true.
spooky season. We've got until
I would
October
love-
31st.
That
I would
also
love to do
works.
that. But the thing
Yeah.
is, I'd want to do church grims. I'd also want to do Jenny Greenteeth. Like, there's so many.
So more than likely we'll have a part 2. All right. Thank you everyone for watching our presentation on cryptids. Like, subscribe, again, comment what your favorite cryptid is, or if you even believe in cryptids. Any final comments from anyone?
Stay tuned for horror games coming up on stream.
Mhm.
Pay attention for some Lethal Company, Phasmophobia. I can't think of anything else spooky we have, but I'm sure we'll find something.
We're also doing Cult of the
Monster
Lamb right
Hunter.
now. Me
Yeah.
and Trash.
Ooh.
Yes, please tune in to our Cult of the Lamb. It is very fun. It's nice to
we
read some
have-
spooky.
We have Fourth Wing coming up for book club.
Mhm. Lots of things,
I have
guys.
to get
We
on
have
that.
so many things.
Miss Mia will be joining us for book club this time, so
Let's
Mhm.
go.
All right. Well, thank you everyone for watching. Have a good day. Bye.
Bye.